All right. Thought I'd just go over, sort of kind of a, not detail, but just a little overview of my turbo build in my car. So, I guess we'll start with the basics. I used to run a CX manifold, but that warped over time, and I actually just finished putting on a Rapid Spool Industries manifold. I don't know if you can see it down in there, but so that's where it puts the turbo. I actually just made this downpipe, 3-inch downpipe yesterday. It wasn't too hard to make. I just used an angle grinder and a skill saw, tacked it together, and then had someone weld it. Obviously we have the one bung for the O2 sensor, the other one for my wideband gauge. What else? So the turbo is still the CX Racing GT35 turbo that comes with the kit. It's got about 2,000 miles on it. Maybe, actually no, probably 3,000 or 4,000 actually. So with the Rapid Spool manifold, it puts the wastegate down in there. I'll show you from underneath the car in a sec. But you got your water lines, and I get my water lines from, I don't know if you can see that, the head. There's a little feed coming out of the head that it's supposed to be for the throttle body coolant lines, but you really don't need those. So I run from the head through the turbo, and then I drain it back into where the drain for the throttle body coolant line would be. So for the CX manifold, the expansion tank fits over here, but with the Rapid Spool Industry manifold, I had to route it over here. It's basically just zip tied on kind of for now. I'm still sort of putting this whole thing together with the new manifold setup. So here it comes under the car. Cut out there for a sec. So it comes out of the car. I have a pipe to connect from there to my intercooler. I just don't have it hooked up yet. It's the CX Racing intercooler. It comes with the kit. And I'll show you. So for the Rapid Spool manifold, it puts the wastegate right underneath here. I have a Tile MVR 44mm. I actually just made this dump tube. It fits in there, and it dumps right out under here. So my downpipe I made V-banded right coming out of the bottom of the car into a full 3-inch exhaust with just a little muffler at the end. For my oil drain, all I did was just drill and tap a fitting. A lot of people weld, but I'm not that good at welding, so I just drilled and tapped it. Come out from underneath. So CX Racing turbo, CX Racing intercooler. This cold side piping is still from CX Racing. I'm using their blow-off valve, which is pretty shitty. It kind of sounds like shit, but it works for now. I'm running an RK Tunes turbo kit for OBD2. So this is the MAF it comes with. You just wire it into your stock MAF. Little Mishimoto Silicone 90. Obviously M50 intake manifold. Let's see what else. My clutch is an FX Stage 4 with the lightweight flywheel. I get them on eBay for like $500. It will come in the car. It's all messy right now just because I'm in the middle of building this whole thing, or redoing the build. So in the car, oh, that was left on, shit. You got your wideband gauge, boost gauge, water temp gauge. Just have these little switches here. It's stock shifter. I have an eBay short throw shifter in it. It's shit, but it works. To go to the turbo, I have the Rally Road. Focus in there. Come on. The Rally Road Vanos banjo bolt. So all it does is it takes the oil from your Vanos feed. You still obviously have your Vanos, but it just taps into where it comes out of the oil filter sort of housing below that. Run it to my turbo. 4-amp line. I showed you the drain. I also have Max PSI idle control valve hoses. You can see right there, and I epoxied the fitting on the M50 intake manifold because if you don't do that, it'll leak under boost. 60-pound injectors, comes with the RK Tunes turbo kit, and that's pretty much it. I got to go over. I just have a simple Turbo Smart manual boost controller. The spring on my tile wastegate, I think it's like 11 or 12 pounds. So you can just turn it up with this, You know, it goes from your turbo housing, the compressor housing, and then where is mine? There it goes onto the wastegate there, the bottom port. On this wastegate, there's 3 bottom ports and then 1 top port. And just for a simple manual boost controller, you plug the 2 bottom ports and then plumb this into the 3rd one on the bottom, and then you just leave the top port open. So I forgot to say, these water lines, they're just sort of silicone lines I got from eBay. I honestly wouldn't really trust them. They've ruptured a few times, so I gotta change it up. The vacuum line is just for the blow valve, is just another simple eBay line. That's fine, but for these water lines, I would get a nice quality one. Also got this engine, picked it up 2 days ago, stock M52. It's got 120,000 miles on it. I'm just gonna be building it in my spare time with rods and pistons, you know, hoping to make like reliable 600 horsepower. I've been running 15 to 19 PSI on this motor on 91 fuel for almost 4,000 miles now, and it's been taking it like a beast, but you know, I don't know how long it'll last. A lot of people break ringlands, excuse me, on 91, so we'll see what happens. So I'm also running just an eBay electric fan. I have it wired in with a relay, and I just have a switch inside the car. And then I also have the stock aux fan for the AC. I used to just run just this electric fan, but I was having some overheating problems at idle just because they don't pull much air when they're under load. So I put this thing here, and I have a little shroud that goes on top, so no more overheating with that. So here we are in the car, going to get gas. I don't have the charge pipe hooked up right now, so I won't hit boost, but I'll just kind of show you how it drives, how the gauges work. You can actually hear the turbo spool, like, you know, it sounds like a whistle, like a diesel. Here are my gauges, the wideband. Obviously, so under boost, right, you want it to be, you know, if you want to be conservative with it, high 10s. I'm kind of running low 11s right now when I hit boost, but just driving around, not in boost, you want it to hit around 15. That's your target, 14.7 to be exact. Anyway, so it's kind of the drivability of it. It drives totally stock. You couldn't even tell there's a turbo on it when, you know, when you're not hitting boost. As you can tell right now, the turbo's not hooked up, drives fine. Just got fancy little gauges on it. But so yeah, there you go. I'll make more videos to come, especially when I start turning up the boost. I have a meth injection kit coming, hoping to make around 550 horsepower on this thing before it blows. We'll see. Feel free to ask me if you have any questions, you know. But yeah, so there's my car. I guess something else I sort of didn't mention. So this turbo, it's technically a GT35 knockoff. It's a 0.63 exhaust housing. So I actually spool pretty early. I start spooling, making a couple pounds of boost, a little over 2,000 RPM. Then I get full spool in 4th gear. I would say 3,500, maybe a little bit higher than 3,500. But just driving around, you know, messing around on the back roads, I can stay in 3rd gear and make boost by 3. So, you know, the turbo lag really isn't that big of a deal. I have a precision 62 millimeter coming, or 62, 66, so it'll spool a little bit later, but I have a 0.82 exhaust housing for it. So the problem with the 0.63 housing like I have right now is it kind of chokes up top, so it makes its peak power, I'll probably say around 6,000, but the problem with it is it blows really hot air because the exhaust housing is so small. So the GT35 CX Racing turbos with these housing, I would say, are fine up until around 500 wheel horsepower, but that could be possibly pushing it. If you want to make more than that, get a bigger exhaust housing, but if you want around 400 to 500 horsepower, then that's a good turbo. Let's hear the spool one more time.